In this video, we'll be revealing how you can get shredded easily. We'll be focusing on how you can get the most results with the least amount of effort and help you get shredded far easier than you could have possibly imagined. We'll be revealing the best way that you should eat, and the best way that you should do cardio, and how to skyrocket your metabolism so that you can get shredded and stay shredded with ease. Just before we get started, my name's Charlie. I'm a bodybuilder, BJJ fighter, level 3 personal trainer with over 7 years of experience in the fitness industry and have helped many clients gain muscle, build strength and lose weight. If you're interested in online coaching, just check the link in the description. This first section will be covering how you should eat to get shredded. In order to get shredded, you need to be in a calorie deficit, which means you need to be eating less calories than you're burning. However, the two biggest obstacles for you to get into that calorie deficit and stay in that calorie deficit are going to be hunger and cravings. So we're going to be discussing how to minimize both of them in order for you to actually stay in the calorie deficit, continue losing weight and eventually get shredded. So we'll be starting off with hunger. So in order to minimize hunger, you want to be focusing on eating low calorie dense foods. These are foods that are high in volume, but low in calories. So what you want to try and do is swap foods that you're already eating for alternatives that are either lower in calories or higher in volume, as they allow you to be more full while eating the same or less amount of calories. Examples in this would be swapping from things like pasta or rice that are quite low in volume but high in calories. Maybe something like couscous or air pop popcorn as a source of carbs. So before we go into the next part to do with eating, I'd just like to make you aware of a free email campaign that's going to be coming up soon. What it's going to be 31 fitness tips across 31 days. But each of these tips is going to massively transform your fitness journey. It's going to be covering everything you need to know, from the weight training, the cardio and the eating, supplements, recovery, mindset, motivation, teaching you new things, pretty much everything that you need to know to make this year in fitness your best year so far. And it's also 100% free. It will be linked in the description, so make sure to check that out. Other ways you can go about this is by choosing the reduced fat version of any sort of dairy product or anything that has fat in it. For example, choosing a lower fat cheese or yogurt or milk, or if it's something like a meat, choosing the lowest percent fat choice possible, or for example swapping from things like chicken thighs to chicken breasts. You can also make certain swaps in your food. For example, swapping from sugar to sweetener will reduce how many calories you're consuming. Swapping from normal peanut butter to powdered peanut butter. Swapping from using oil to instead using a spray will help to reduce your calories by a lot. Pretty much going through each of the things you're having and making these little changes. You wouldn't want to do it all at once, but maybe you make like one change each week or every 2 weeks, in order to keep it more sustainable, but then over time you'll feel more full while eating the same or less amount of calories. Another bit of advice is to try and eat your food slower. So it actually takes a certain amount of time for your body to send a signal that you're full to your brain. For example, if you were to eat like your dinner, for example, really quickly, maybe after it you still feel a bit hungry and then you end up having a bit more or having a dessert. Whereas if you were to eat it slower, by the time you've actually finished that meal, you may actually already feel quite full, and therefore you'll be less likely to overeat after the meal. And then another tip is to try and drink more water throughout the day. So things like having a water bottle with you at all times will help you to reinforce to try and drink more water. Also, you could try having more like spicy foods, as obviously if you were to eat the spicy foods, you want to drink more water, which will increase how much water you're having each day. So the reason that you want to focus on having more water is that water will actually fill you up quite a bit, but has 0 calories in it. So it's a great way to help you feel more full without consuming any extra calories. And then another little tip is to try and consume more protein and fiber, as these are quite filling. So protein is quite filling and satiating and actually has quite a high thermic effect, meaning it will slightly boost your metabolism. Fiber is also very filling and slower digesting, so it will help you feel fuller for longer. So yeah, try to where you can consume more protein and fiber throughout the day. So now that we've covered everything to do with hunger, next we're going to be going over how to deal with cravings. One of the best ways you can go about dealing with cravings, especially in the long term, is to improve both your willpower and discipline. So these are very similar. Willpower is essentially the act of not doing something that you want to do. So say, for example, you want to stay up late watching a movie, or you want to have a snack that you know isn't good for you, or you want to go out drinking. So pretty much anything that's instant gratification, which will feel good now but make you worse in the future. So by resisting them, especially something that you do want to do, you will improve your willpower. And then discipline is quite similar. It's essentially an act of doing something that you don't want to do. So that aspect of that you don't want to do it is very important. For example, if you like going to the gym and you go in there quite regularly, if you choose on that day to go to the gym, it won't improve your discipline as you already like doing it. So you want to do stuff instead that you don't want to do that will make you better in the long term. For example, maybe stretching, or doing more cardio, or maybe reading or learning about fitness. or anything sort of in your daily life that you don't want to do will directly improve your discipline. So by improving both willpower and discipline, it will help to improve your decision making in the long term. So you'll be better at resisting the temptations to having them cravings, and instead will be more disciplined to having the stuff that you actually should have. Another quick easy way to deal with cravings is to make the food that you shouldn't be having harder to access. So either having that in a harder to get place in your house, or not having it in your home at all will reduce the chance of you actually having it. Another good way of dealing with them is to have sort of a healthier, lower calorie alternative. For example, instead of going out and buying a pizza, for example, you can make sort of a similar thing to a pizza at home, but you can actually control what goes into it. So maybe you have reduced fat cheese, you have lower fat meats in it, maybe you have the base as a wrap instead of a normal pizza dough, for example. So you can make changes like that to still have a similar thing to the real thing, but a thing that it is actually low in calories and better for you. So now we've covered everything you need to know in terms of eating, we're going to be going over the cardio side of everything. So we're going to start by ranking the cardio machines from least amount of calories burned to the most calories burned. So the cardio machine that's going to burn the least is going to be any sort of bike. Better than that will be the treadmill, and then better than the normal treadmill will be the treadmill on the incline. Better than that will be the Stairmaster, and then the best will be the cross trainer. So then in terms of how you actually want to do the cardio, I recommend as the easiest way to burn the most amount of calories, we'll be doing less cardio, which will be a low, moderate intensity, as it will be easier to stay consistent with, easier to recover from. It won't negatively affect your weight training. And then while you're doing that cardio, literally just do anything that you normally do, or just binge watch something. And then before you know it, you've already done an hour of cardio and burned hundreds of extra calories, and it was quite easy. Also, when you're doing the cardio, you're doing it very slowly, progressively overloading it. For example, increasing the speed, even if it's by 0.1 or 0.2 kilometers per hour per week, or maybe very slightly increase the incline, or doing it for an extra 5 minutes every couple of weeks, as this will improve your cardiovascular fitness, which will help in the long term for you to actually burn more calories doing the cardio, and it will actually feel a lot easier as your cardiovascular fitness will be increased quite a lot. And another bit of advice in terms of cardio is going to be to try and increase your NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Essentially what that means is stuff like fidgeting or moving about in your daily life, anything that's movement but not deliberate cardio or exercise. For example, choosing the stairs instead of the escalator, or maybe if you're on a bus, getting off a couple stops before, or if you're in a car, parking slightly away and then walking the rest. Or maybe if you're on the phone, instead of sitting down, maybe just standing up or slowly walking around. Anything like this will help you to slightly burn more calories throughout your day, which when paired with everything else will help you to stay in that calorie deficit and get shredded with ease. In the final section, we'll be covering metabolism. So we already mentioned that having more protein will increase your metabolism. So again, going back to that, try and have more protein where you can, but also drinking more water, especially colder water, will help to slightly increase your metabolism as well, as your body has to raise the temperature of the water to the temperature of your body. If you have more water and more water that's colder, it will have an effect on increasing your metabolism as well. Another important thing for your metabolism will be sleep, as if you were to be undersleeping regularly, not only will you not have as much energy for your workouts or cardio, and therefore you won't be able to perform as well, but it will also just mean that you feel more tired throughout the day, and you won't really be burning as many calories going throughout your day-to-day life. So yeah, trying to get in a good routine with your sleep, try and stay consistent with it, trying to make sure you get into nice deep sleep, try and avoid anything that's too stimulating before you go to sleep, and just try and dedicate more time in general towards sleep. Next tip for boosting your metabolism is going to be to increase your muscle mass. So this is going to be quite a long-term thing, as it is going to take you quite a while to actually put on a decent amount of muscle mass. But muscle is metabolically active, meaning the more muscle you have, the more calories you will burn even at rest. For example, if you were to be literally sitting around and doing nothing all day, you'll burn more calories if you have more muscle compared to if you didn't. So I already have many guides on my channel relating to building muscle, relating to training certain muscle groups. Make sure to check all of them out if you'd like to go into more detail. And then final way to help you boost your metabolism is going to be to try and have more caffeine throughout the day. So for example, when you wake up and you're going throughout the morning routine, you could, for example, have a coffee, as this will have caffeine in it, which will give you a bit more energy in the morning, meaning you might move around a little bit more throughout the day, which will increase how many calories you're burning throughout the day. And then, for example, before your workouts, you could have maybe a bit of pre-workout, as this will give you a little bit more energy, meaning you'll be able to train for a little bit longer, do a few more reps, do a few more exercises, or maybe perform better on your cardio. So you want to avoid having caffeine too close before you go to sleep, and you want to try and avoid going above about 400 milligrams each day. but it's one of the best supplements for boosting how much energy you have and as well as increasing the performance of your workouts. So that's going to conclude how you can get shredded easily. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and like. If you'd like to see a complete follow along guide for training abs, then just click the video that will be here. Also, just a reminder, if you're interested in online coaching or in our email campaign we mentioned earlier, make sure to check the links in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.